Let's talk about everything I've knitted this summer. Hi there, my name is Alena, and today we will talk about my summer knits, but not like summer knits, but more like everything that I finished this summer. I've knitted a lot this summer, but I haven't been able to record anything. I didn't have any mental power for that, so today I will share with you everything that I've knitted during this time, and the next video I will share with you all my fuck-ups during this summer, because believe me, there were a lot of them, and I have restarted several projects 2-3 times or something like that. So if you're curious, please subscribe and we will discuss it during next podcast. And let's dive deep into what I've been knitting. I have 2 finished objects that you've seen and 4 finished objects that you haven't seen, and one of those objects even not here because I gifted it to my friend. She just tried it on. It was so cool. It looked so cool on her, so she decided to take it. And who am I not to gift it to her? You know, I have a lot of knits. I can knit it once again. So that was the reason. And the first item that I want to try to get into hanger is this one. It was like my camera don't like a lot of black, but you can see it a little bit closer. And details. We have bows. We have a lot of bows. And this is Solen vest by Moranit. It was a test knit for her, and this was one of the most popular summer garments this summer, because summer in Warsaw wasn't nice. Do we need to count how many times I've told summer? I hope no. This is vest knitted with Como cashmere by Lamana and their Premia, which is soft silk mohair. This yarn was kindly gifted for testing, and I've tested this pattern, and this is like absolutely perfect vest. At first, it is in black. So this is the most versatile color that you may think about. Probably not for every person, but for me, black is my go-to if I don't know what to wear. You can take a look at it a little bit closer. These yarns together work so nicely, especially with Como cashmere, because recommended yarns over here just Como by Lamana, but they didn't have standard Como in black, so I got Como cashmere. This is 70, if I'm not mistaken, it's 70-30. Let me double check. Yeah, this is 70% merino, 30% cashmere. That's why it blooms much better than just merino wool. And if you take a look at the original pattern, at the original yarn combination that designer knitted with this beautiful green, like so juicy, it has less fluff and you can see a little bit better stitch definition. For my waist you cannot see a lot of stitch definition, but it's still amazing, and that's really what I like. So about the vest itself. As usual, as this is American knit patterns, you will have a lot of short rows and ends to weave in. That's how it works, but I understand why it's done like that, because sometimes you may have some problems with how item or garment sits on your shoulders or on the body, because usually how we knit some, a lot of designers do not complicate their garments too much, and Kate usually tries to knit her garments in a way how they could be sewed. So she creates her garments at first with paper, you know, like sewing patterns with paper, and then she knits them. So as you can see on this vest, we have slope shoulder. We have this slope over here for the shoulder. The same for another shoulder, and as you can see, the back isn't straight. So we have these points for shoulders, and a little bit lower part of the back neck, because this repeats your body and it creates really nice placing of the garment over here. I can add a photo, kind of like a close-up with my another finished object, this beautiful duck. I won't talk too much about it, but I will also return to beading, and you can see how nicely the shoulder sits, and there is no bulk or no excessive fabric on the back of your neck. So after finishing a lot of short rows, you need back yoke as usual. At first you needed just back and forth without any increases, then you start forming your increases for the armholes, and after finishing yoke you pick up stitches for both of shoulders separately, of course, then you add a little bit more of short rows and knit in the same way as back yoke. You knit a little bit without any increases, then you start increasing for v-neck, and at the same time a little bit later you start increasing for the armholes, and you finish your yoke for the both parts, and then you join under the arms and continue knitting back and forth to finish your vest. This was supposed to be a little bit longer than you used to have. It's not a really short vest, and I think it's nice because it adds a little bit of difference. I think that we are knitting a lot of cropped items, and from time to time we need a little bit longer stuff. Then you switch to smaller, much smaller needles, because I've used 4.5 for the main fabric and 3.5 for all ribbon details, and I think 3mm needle for double knitted edges. And to get this beautiful hem, oh, I hope you can see, you also add additional stitches. So the first preparation row before hem, you increase. The pattern will tell you how often you have to increase, and then you start knitting your rib, so it won't cinch in too much your hem, because as you can see it's almost, as you can see we have almost straight hem. If you cannot see, you'll see it all in photos how I wear it, of course, and the rib looks really neat. Then you pick up stitches for your armholes. Armholes also done in 1x1 rib, and I like it. I feel that it looks a little bit lighter and easier to style than double knitted armhole. And then you pick up stitches to knit your button band, but it's not button band, like edge, like front edge with double knitting, and at the end you attach your I-cord edges that will be used to kind of connect both of fronts. I think it looks cool and really cute, especially with those bows. I really like them. As for wearing this vest, I don't like it to wear with my dresses, because a lot of my dresses have A shape, so they're kind of like wider on the body, so they're wider on my hips, and this vest may add too much bulk to my waist, I would say, so I don't like wearing it with dresses. But with slim skirt and jeans, this is my go-to. I really like wearing it with t-shirt and then some kind of a shirt above it, and it really helps in my cold office. Yes, we are in black era. If I would knit this vest again, I would probably knit it in a little bit smaller size, because I knitted size M, which is kind of recommended one for me, because I was in between S and M, and this vest kind of like a little bit more oversized, which is supposed to look like that. But if I would knit it again, I would go with size S, just to have it, you know, a little bit slimmer, so you can add additional layering piece that may be a little bit different. Like, I don't want to repeat it exactly as I've knitted this one. Let's proceed further. The next, my finished object that I've showed you previous time as work in progress, is Alice top. It is sparkly one. And I think that this is the first my fully knitted and finished garment with hand-dyed yarn. I'm not counting socks, so this is the first one. As for this one, I needed something quick to knit, that's why I decided to go with it. And last time you probably seen it somewhere here, only on the body, and after that I finished it. And I can share a lot about this project and a little bit about the yarn, because of course this is superwash merino. And there's some peeling happening, but I don't see them right. I don't see any peeling right now. Okay, some bits. There is some bits, but not too much. Which is surprising, because I thought that maybe I shaped it. Don't remember. But there are also some bits over here. No, you're not able to see it. But let's get back. This is Alice top, knitted in size 3 with 5mm needles in Woolala Diamonds yarn. This is a Polish hand dyer. This is coal color with stellina. It's sparkly. I wanted to knit something sparkly for myself, to kind of have a layering piece that I can wear with shrug, with t-shirt, or with shorts, not t-shirts, shorts, jackets, and so on, even cardigans. And it was quite fast to knit. I knitted on 5mm needles with double strand, with 2 strands of this yarn. And I like finishing details. There's no complicated stuff going on here. You just need a tube at first, then you split for front and back, and you start decreasing to form the armholes. For the back you knit straight, and then you start decreasing over here to get this kind of like slope shape on the shoulder. And for the front you do kind of in a similar way, but then you split also over here to shape V-neck. So you knit both of shoulders separately, and then you join over here front part with back part. I would like to show you closer this kind of like detail that may look similar to Maggie cardigan or Poppy tee, but this is done with decreases. This pattern doesn't have any finishing details, so when you're done, you're done. There is no edging, nothing like that. You just slip your first stitch and knit your last stitch to get this edge on the armholes and on the neck, and that's it. So it's kind of simple and quick knit. I do recommend knitting it, and if I will knit it again, I would go with some silk or maybe merino silk combination of yarns, because yes, double-stranded superwash yarn might not be the best, but for me it was perfect for this specific purpose, to wear as a layering piece, especially in fall or in the cold office. Yes, I will mention it a lot because it sucks sometimes, especially when it's plus 30 outside and it's plus 20 at the office. It sucks. So this is my Alice top. Really enjoyed it. It peels a little bit, but not too harsh. So it's not a big problem. And what's nice, as you may understand, this is superwash. So there is no itchiness if you get a little bit sweaty, which is nice. And I don't have yarn to show you closer because I gifted it, like I've gifted all the leftover of this yarn to my friend. So I don't have any leftovers. The next top I want to talk to you is the top that I don't have over here. This is my Ivy top or Ivy top by PetiteKnit. Totally in love with the whole this series. I think that I have yarn. No, I don't have yarn for Ivy blouse, but I want to knit Ivy blouse. I will do this top once again because my top currently isn't with me. And my friend is really happy because of that. And I'm also waiting for package with yarn for Ivy sweater. So I'm sorry, but you'll see this pattern a lot. in different variations because I love it. Especially I love this shoulder detail and the small mock neck. And what is the yarn that I've used there? This is a beautiful, beautiful knitting for olive pure silk half double in the most beautiful color. Really love this olive color. I had video about my UFOs where I've discussed what to do with my Melody's dress. I had like some chunk of top part without any increases for the skirt, and I was thinking what to do. I was thinking maybe I can knit some additional stripe to connect both sides because the top got a little bit too small on me because the top got a little bit too small for me, so I needed to change something. And then I was thinking a lot, and I was sitting on it for quite some time, and I decided that probably I have to frog. Like, if I'm thinking too much what to do with it, then I need to frog it fully. And I did it. And after that, that yarn was looking at me because look at this color. I'm fully in love with this olive color by Knitting for Olive, especially in soft silk. No, in pure silk. And I knitted Ivy top in size 3. Ivy top is a nice funnel neck top with kind of small subtle shoulder detail on your shoulders. And you start knitting in the round, forming this funnel neck. Then you start... No, I think that you start from... Yeah, you start from knitting funnel neck in the round. Then you knit short rows and you start forming your saddles. Then you start knitting in the round once again to finish your saddles, saddle shoulders. And I've added a little bit more increases over here for the shoulder because I have kind of like wider shoulders than it should be according to standard sizing, but no one has standard sizing, right? According to my bust, standard sizing suggests to have, I don't know how to describe it, you know, like according to standard sizing with my bust, there should be less width for my shoulders, but I like my body, like I have wider shoulders, that's okay. So I increased a little bit over here, a little bit more than pattern suggested, and then I just cast it on a little bit less stitches under the arm, but let's not get there for a little bit. Then you split your front and back yokes and you knit them flat separately. Pattern doesn't have any edging, but it says to knit and purl both edge stitches, but I decided to have a slip stitch edge because I think that for me it looks a little bit neater, right? Then you join under the arms and you cast on some amount of stitches. As I mentioned before, I've cast it on a little bit less as I had a little bit more stitches for the front because of increased amount on shoulders. And then you just knit straight in the round and finish when you feel it's right. Also the edge may curl a little bit, that's why I've used standard bind off and I did it with purl stitches because that looks a little bit neater for me and it doesn't have any curling in that way. Plus, as you know, pure silk may not curl so much as merino. Top looks stunning. I will knit it for myself once again, and probably not once, maybe twice, because I want to have one in maybe this same olive color. If I have enough yarn, I need to double check. And I want one marled. I don't know with which colors right now, but I really want a marled one because I think it will add a little bit of interest in summer when you have just shirts. But I want to do it right now. Probably I will knit one as a layering piece for now and second one, marled one, next summer. I've used only 3 skeins of Knitting for Olive pure silk, half double, so it's kind of a nice leftover project, and I've used recommended needle size. No, I haven't used recommended needle size. I've used 4.5mm needles because I need a little bit tighter than PetiteKnit, so I needed to size up, as usual I would say. If you have some leftovers or you have some nice silk yarn, highly recommend to knit Ivy top. you got me. Let's probably finish with tops and then proceed with sweater and the cardigan. The next top may look also a little bit surprising for you, because not only you haven't seen it, but also this is top knitted with pure cashmere, and I mentioned to you several times that I don't understand summer tops in cashmere, but here we are. And that's not only because this was a test knit, once again for PetiteKnit. Extremely happy to get into her testing group. I adore all of her patterns, and I'm finishing one currently. That's not a test knit, and I'm going to knit one more. The yarn is currently traveling to me, so believe me, I'm with her not only regarding test knits. And by the way, some nice yarn arriving soon. Maybe we should do unpacking together. Let me know in the comments below. And by the way, what are you currently knitting? Because I know that a lot of people during watching podcasts also knit, so I'm really curious what are you knitting currently. And this is Leaf Top by Moranit. And I think that probably this detail, this hem, is one of the most important features of this top. She has several patterns in this family: leaf blouse, a leaf sweater, and this is top. I'm totally in love with leaf blouse, and it's in my queue and in my wish list on Ravelry, so I'm hoping that at some point of time I would be able to knit it. Maybe with merino and silk combination, because I feel that it can be not only summery garment, but some kind of fall, autumn, something like that. But let's move to this top. All the details. Once again, it's a dark yarn, so I hope you can see at least something. And this is top knitted top down, as usual, with a lot of short rows to guarantee nice fit, because as you can see, there's a back and there is once again this slope to give you nice fitting, nice fit on the back without any bulk. You start knitting it as usual from shoulders with a little bit of short rows, just a little bit. Then you knit flat for some time without any increases, and you start increasing for both of the armholes. And when you finish your back yoke, you pick up stitches for front, do a little bit of short rows, then you start forming the neckline. As you can see, there are nice increases for the neckline, and I think I need to tighten the end over here. Maybe this, yeah, over here it looks a little bit better. After that, you join under the neck, and you do the same as for back yoke. You knit a little bit without any increases, then you increase for both armholes, and then you join in the round. And honestly, with this yarn on 4mm needles, I just flew off my needles. At that time I had several more knitting garments at the same time, but that was it wasn't my priority even at some time. I had to finish some other things, but that was just so amazing. And I'm really grateful that I have an opportunity to knit with Cardiff cashmere. And I can say that you can knit this top with any other sport weight yarn, because it was knitting. This shape, especially this hem, looks stunning, and you have 2 slits. So when you knit in the round, at some point you start splitting for front and back parts, because you need to shape slits. Then you knit till the end of this first slit, and you start shaping with short rows, of course, this longer part. And you do the same for front and back. And when you cast on for the front, you have a little bit different approach for shaping the slit. not just knitting two slits separately, but you cast on several stitches from your back, like from back panel, to get a nice and clean this part, like a nice and clean slit. Because from time to time, when you knit them just separately, you have this a little bit stretched stitch in between, but over here you don't have anything like that. And then you add mock neck. My mock neck may look a little bit strange because I've tightened too much my cast off. Then I had to fix it because after first try on I broke yarn of my cast off, and honestly when you wear it, it looks fine, and I need to add probably some kind of elastic. So if you're knitting this, please be careful and don't knit it too tight, don't bind off too tight. And after that you finish your armholes with an I-cord. I'm not sure that you can see that there is an I-cord over here, but it adds a little bit of, I don't know, like a little bit of finishing. But if I will knit it again, I would go once again with smaller size to get a little bit more cinched in look. I like to have oversized items, but this time I needed size 3, and probably I would go with size 1. I know that it's not the recommended amount of ease, but I would go maybe with a little bit even negative ease to have the top kind of like hugging the whole body. And I think that over here I could just use slip stitch, kind of like this edge stitch as a slip stitch, because I'm not convinced that I-cord is really needed here. Maybe with lighter yarn it will add a little bit more sense, but with dark yarn, no. And the same approach for the ribbing on the hem, that with Solen vest, that you have a little bit more stitches, so your hem may look nicely and lie flat, so it won't be cinched too much. And let's talk about the yarn. As I mentioned before, this is Cardiff Cashmere in really beautiful color cacao, and this is color 643. Looks stunning, especially with jeans, and for me, currently I'm obsessed with this color. I have a little bit more other stuff going on with the same color, and I think it looks not bad on me. Plus, this is a little bit of difference from a lot of my black items, so it's kind of a little bit of a change, I would say. And of course, stitch definition on Cardiff Cashmere is stunning. And I have my sweater knitted in Cardiff Cashmere, and I cannot say that it peels too much, but that's definitely a splurge. So if you have an option, go with this yarn. If you feel that that's too much, use some sport weight yarn, or maybe it would be nice to use some sport weight yarn, or maybe some fingering plus lace weight. For example, you can try to knit with maybe cotton wool plus strand of tier 1 or something like that, just to add a little bit of weight. And this is probably the best drape that you may get. Love, love, love it. This summer I had a problem with inspiration. I didn't know what to knit at all. Nothing was like really inspiring. That's why I agreed on several more test knits, because they looked really cool. I wanted those garments on my wardrobe. This is my rule for test knits. If I am ready to knit this garment after the test will pass and the pattern will be released, then I can take it. If I have even a little bit of a doubt, I don't take it. And as I didn't have any inspiration to knit anything else, I took one more test knit. And this one is probably my favorite one, because this is Clematis sweater chunky. This is a chunky version of Clematis sweater by Moranit, and I've been totally in love with the original version. I've already gifted it because I knew that I will have this version on my needles. And honestly, I like this version a little bit more. Look at this yarn. Amazing. And it works really nice with almost everything. It has balanced sleeves. Like not too dramatic, but as you can see, it's a little bit balloonish. This one is a little bit shorter than the original one and knitted with bigger gauge. And look on those buttons. Those are mother of pearl buttons. I had them for quite a while. I think I bought it previous year to knit Maggie cardigan. That didn't happen. And I finally found a place where they will look nicely. I really love them. For this pattern, I got 50% discount for the yarn, and the yarn used here is Kremke Soul wool, but currently they rebranded, so this is Kremke silk mohair, and let me double check. And this is Erica Knight Yarns Pure Tweed. Tweed really looks like, you know, that very popular one, Confetti by Isire, but I think that this one is a little bit... No, it's exactly the same. It looks in the skein exactly the same. Like really, I don't see any difference. I have bag knitted with Confetti by Isire, and this one is exactly the same. It feels the same and it looks the same, and it has the same quality. It has the same composition, so nothing new. Let's talk a little bit about construction of this sweater, and finally I can handle it over here. No, it still washes me out a little bit. So this cardigan, no, this is a sweater. This is a sweater with small drop shoulder. It's kind of baby drop shoulder, I would call it like that. And you knit it starting from the back. There is no short rows, so you knit it flat. And as you can see, there is no significant slope, as I showed you on Moranit patterns. You knit it flat for some time without any increases, decreases whatsoever, and then you add increases to form your armhole. Then you pick up stitches for left shoulder, and you just knit it. No, you start from right. Yes, you start from right because that one is a little bit easier. You start knitting your right shoulder, and you start increasing over here for this diagonal, not bottom, but like for this diagonal. Over here, there's also some increases for the armhole, and then where's magic big hands, let's call it like that. You start knitting left shoulder. You knit it till this part where you will join. There will be only increases for the neckline. My cat decided to run, okay, and then you start knitting this just tiny part over here till you get to the neck as well. Over here you start increasing and decreasing. You're increasing over here for neckline. You're decreasing over here to get this diagonal part. I would say that tiny bit part, maybe probably one of the most complicated, because you have to do a lot with small amount of stitches at the same time. Then after you join over here, the seams is happening a little bit easier. You just knit your yoke till the armhole as usual, with increases for the armhole, and you have decreases over here. Then you join under the arms with with casting on several stitches, and you knit your ball span, and you knit everything in the round with increases from one side and decreases over here and increases over here to shape this diagonal part. And there is a special rate how to do so. I would recommend you to put stitch marker for each increase or decrease. I don't remember what is at the beginning of the round, but I would suggest adding markers so it can be a little bit easier to navigate them. And after that, you need hem. Hem is needed as usual with 1x1 rib. And when you move on to the sleeve, you have a little bit of short rows over here, but you're not getting to the point when your armholes finished, you know, like usually when you need drop shoulder, like usually if you need small baby drop shoulder, or not a drop shoulder but satin sleeve, you kind of get with your short rows to the same point as your armhole finish, so it will be like a straight line over here. And then you start knitting around your sleeve. But over here you have just a little bit of short rows, and I think that if I knit it again, I would add a little bit more to get this to the same part, so it would look a little better. I think that may help a little bit with how it sits on the body, and I would probably add a little bit of short rows on the back. I cannot say that it looks awful or something like that. That's just, it sits nice, but if I knit it again, I would do so. And you knit sleeves with some decreases. There are not a lot of them. And at the very end of the sleeve, you add repeat decreases and then knit short cuff with 1x1 rib. And after finishing that, you can knit your neckline. It's also 1x1 rib, also a very short one, and the same for button bands. You have one plank without buttonholes and another with buttonholes. The pattern will suggest you how to count appropriate space between buttons, and all you need is to attach buttons and to block the carpet. What I can say about this, as I mentioned, if I knit it again, I would just add a little bit more short rows, but this is just my preference, because I think that short rows really improves how the pattern fits on you. But I'm not sure that it's a necessary item over here, that this is a necessary step. You cannot see, but no, you can see, there is a cat over here. As for the yarn, it's a little bit scratchy, you know. For me, it's really cannot say like too scratchy, but I need to wear something underneath. I need to wear a t-shirt or at least some tank top that will cover this part especially, because I have a feeling that this part of my chest is quite sensitive, so there I will have to have something. But other than that, nothing bad to the pattern. Cannot say nothing bad about the pattern, I mean. And those are two yarns that I've used. Sorry for not showing every yarn that I've used, because I don't have a lot. I don't have some of them because I finished or something like that. And as usual, all colors will be mentioned on my Ravelry, and the link to my Ravelry you can find over here in the description box. And if you'd like, but no pressure, of course, if you'd like to support my channel, there is a wishlist on my Ravelry, so you can kind of support it. But the biggest support is that you're here and you write your comments, so write me some nice comment. Maybe it even can be some kind of emoji or something like that, so I will see a little bit more faces who are watching me. And the last pattern that I need to add to my Ravelry, because I don't have it yet. This is Blomren jacket by Mangleather on Instagram. I hope I'm not butchering her name. She's, I cannot say kind of fresh designer, but she, I think, create designs probably starting from beginning of this year, if I'm not mistaken. And this is a beautiful jacket with some lace details all over the jacket, knitted with 2 strands of cashmere mohair by Knitting Note. It looks like this, in the most bright blue colors that you can imagine. This is 49% mohair, 36% silk and 15% cashmere. It feels almost like your usual silk mohair, and to the touch, I'm not sure that I feel the difference between this and standard knitting for example, silk mohair, but it may have probably a little less fuzz. on the ball, but it blooms up nicely when you need it. So this is a drop shoulder cardigan with all over lace stitch, and you have nice balanced sleeves, as you can see, I'm probably into them right now, and the tie that you can cinch in your waist with. And also there should be buttons, but I have omitted buttons because it didn't look right for me with my style, so there is no buttons, but you can add tiny buttons over here. I didn't want to add it. I didn't want to add them. That's my choice. Oh, she wanted to show her face. This is also a test knit. The yarn I received for testing, and I paid some taxes for that, so I'm sorry for so many test knits, but really that was summer without any inspiration to knit already existing patterns, and I just really loved everything that I got as test knits. I really like this stitch pattern. It's really easy, you know, like really easy, but you have a lot of flowers down here. You start knitting your back yoke with a little bit of short rows, and you start adding this lace pattern. Then you knit your back yoke without any increases, only following chart. Then at some point you start increasing for armholes, and you finish your back yoke. Very important over here, you have to note down where you finished your back yoke, because you have to be on the same row and in your front and in your left and right yokes. Sorry, probably this is quite a long episode. And then you need, as usual, starting from picking up for one shoulder, then picking up for another shoulder, you knit your yokes of both front yokes, increasing for neckline, because neckline over here is V-neck. I hope you can see it nicely, but there are, as usual, some photos, so you can see it. And then you join underarms, cast on some stitches, and you continue knitting in this stitch pattern. I've knitted it on, I think, 6mm, yeah, I've knitted it on 6mm needles, and it really flew off my needles, because it's really a repetitive process. You need several rounds in stitch pattern, then you need a little bit of without them, then you need once again stitch pattern, you need without them, so kind of like really repeating process, and then you pick up stitches for the sleeves. There is no short rows for sleeves, and the drop is quite small. In my size, I needed size 2, and for me it was a little bit too less, not enough space to have a nice drop. That's why my cardigan drops a little bit off the shoulders, but for this cardigan it's not a big problem for me, because it looks, you know, like really girly, really summery or springy, so kind of like cute one that you can wear with your dresses, so when it flew off your shoulder, it looks like that's supposed to be like that. And you need your sleeves without any increases, decreases, just the same stitch pattern over and over again, and then you have a lot of decreases at the last round, and you finish your sleeves with I-cord edge. The bottom hem finished with just a pin off, so you can do what pin off will work for you nicely, and which one you prefer. I have quite tight, not too tight, but I have a tighter hem, so it won't stretch out too much, because this is 2 strands of silk mohair. It can stretch a little bit, especially with wearing. And then you need long I-cord as kind of like a belt, and you finish all the openings of the front with crochet, I think single crochet stitch, and at the same time you can add buttonholes where you want to add them, but I decided to omit them, and I think it looks nice. I hope, not sure that you can see this edge, but it's beautiful. You know, I imagined wearing this one with only dresses, but I also tried to wear it with my jeans and top, and it looks it looked really nicely. And you know, so adorable. Currently I'm on this stage of my life where I want to wear a lot of girly things, when I want to look chic but a little bit more in romantic way, somewhere in between. And this one ticks those boxes. Oh my god, I think that she's having her best time. And she's enjoying watching this podcast episode as well. So that was it about my finished object of this summer. This is end of the summer, so obviously I won't finish anything. And I've changed my hairstyle because this is fall, new beginnings. I really like fall. And next time we are going to talk about my works in progress. Probably I will finish something till that time, some new yarns. So next one will be like really true knitting podcast. So see you then and happy knitting!